I forgot to tell you, there was some excitement today. Yeah, some besides all this other stuff. I was getting ready to do the laundry pile number 4, and I keep that in our hall when it's cold water wash. And went to go lift it up, the basket that I have it in, to go put it in the wash. Blonde me raises up too soon and hits my head right here on the metal cabinet. I know, so be it. Anyway, that's enough of that. We're going over here to The Cowboy's Valentine Bride. Now, this book holds a special memory for me, as it's one of the last books I purchased with my grandma at Walmart for $4.31. And she was in line with me. She was in the wheelchair, and I was using my checkbook, and she was so proud that I was able to buy this book without having to use a credit card. I'm hoping I didn't just lose a clippy, which I think I did. Anyway, let's tell you about what it's about. A Time to Heal. Brody Mason needs a nurse. As soon as he can walk again, he'll leave Hope, Montana, and go straight back to the Army. But Caitlin Harp? That's adding insult to injury. Not just because she's a daily reminder that Brody's fiancée, Kate's sister, married his best friend while he was fighting in Afghanistan, but because Caitlin had kept the truth from him. The Caitlin he knew before he was deployed would never have perpetuated a lie like that. But this new person, the confident, beautiful woman that hidden depths in her eyes, is nothing like the shy, serious girl he knew. This Caitlin troubles him because Brody is starting to wonder if he proposed to the wrong sister. So, there's some cute parts to this book, and we're going to get to them. Of course, as you would notice, my nose itches. Don't know what that means. Oh, I seen a willy worm yesterday. By the way, it was black. I don't know. It just hit me. Maybe I'm getting amnesia myself. Anyway, yeah, I got to put the readers on for this. Otherwise, I'll get another headache. Okay, on page 9. Under different circumstances, he might have considered himself lucky. He'd known Kate for years and thought of her as a little sister. She'd always been sweet and quirky with a sense of humor, and until recently he would have described her as honest, too. But she'd gone along with the lie, and his friends and family had told him while he was away, namely that he had a fiancée. But Nina had married his best friend Brian while he'd been dodging bullets in Afghanistan. And everyone had kept silence about that little fact, so silent that he never suspected a thing. No one told him the truth until he'd been in the VA hospital in Fort Harrison for over a month. He'd been set to be released for Dakota and Andy's wedding when he learned the nasty infections set in. Nina hadn't visited him, and he'd had enough. That was when the family finally admitted that Nina had married Brian a few months back. Oh, it's so sad. We're going to move on. Something tells me the paperclip fell out, Donna. I don't know where you get that idea at. Okay. Perhaps they weren't so different after all. She had the same mantra, you got out by going through. Except the pain that Brody was pushing himself through was different than her pain. His would heal, and over time he'd lose most of his limp, and the scars would cover the tender place where the pain had been the worst. He'd move on. He'd find another woman to love, and Caitlin would be nothing but a memory. The sister of the woman he almost married, who acted as his nurse for a few weeks. But what about her? Would she be able to move on without an emotional hitch? She hoped that this process would be her healing too, but now she wasn't so sure. If Brody had been the same laughing goof he was when he left, it might have been possible, but he wasn't. He deepened and broadened, and if it weren't possible, she was risking falling for him in much a more dangerous way. I think we missed a thing, but the thing flew out, so there's no way to go back and find it. The worst part is, it doesn't matter, she said, swallowing hard. If you had your choice, free and clear, you would have married Nina. We both know it. And it would have been the biggest mistake of your life, but you would have done it, and I would have lived my life in my sister's shadow. It doesn't matter. I can't be with you. I'm not going to be any man's second choice. So love me or not? You wouldn't have me? He asked simply. She didn't answer, and his heart sank. It was just as well. He should follow her example and bury these feelings. I'm going back to the army, he said after a moment. So you've decided then? She asked willingly. I don't belong here, Kate. You know that as well as I do. And what we are going to do? Avoid each other? Pretend that we don't feel this? Torment ourselves for the next few years? Am I supposed to watch you marry some other guy too? His voice choked off. No, going back to the army was the right decision. He might not fit for the front lines, but there would be a place for him somewhere, and his life would have meaning. Besides, he couldn't have a family behind if something happened to him. That had been Jeff's biggest worry. What would happen to his wife and kids if he didn't come home? And that was a burden that Brody wouldn't put on a woman. Caitlin had worried about him enough, and he wouldn't claim her heart only to make her live with that kind of uncertainty. Okay, page 213. Nina had the distinct impression that you would have married her out of duty. That's her sister. Caitlin said slowly, is that true? He paused, then nodded. Yeah, once I was over there, that's the thing. That war changed me. I wasn't the same guy who left, not in the ways that worked for Nina and me. The army stripped off the cocky veneer and left me raw. I might have done my duty, Kate, but I'd still fallen for you. I wasn't going to be able to help with that. Besides, he nodded in the direction of Nina and Brian, blah, blah, blah. Those two belong together. They did. Caitlin had to agree. Her sister had found the right man for her, and she blossomed because of it. Kate, Brody ran the back of his finger down her cheek, I love you, and if you, the only good thing to come out of nearly being blown up was to see that you were the one for me, and then my pain was worth it. I'm staying, and if you'll have me, I'll spend the rest of my life proving that you're my only one I need. And if you won't have me, I'm still spending the rest of my life proving it. Isn't he the sweetest? Caitlin felt her eyes mist with tears. You are a stubborn, broody Mason. Guilty, he smiled, tenderly nodding down her and cupping her face in his hand. Knowing just how stubborn I am, how about you save us both the frustration and just marry me already? She blinked, and her breath caught in her throat. If you could put up with some ex-army cowboy, he murmured, I'll still be the stubborn, and I'll probably never lose the limp, but I'd still be the luckiest guy on the planet, and I'd never forget it. Yes, she nodded, a smile bursting through her tears, and then her lips came crashing onto hers. His lips came crashing down onto hers once more. I didn't know whose lips was crashing where. She wrapped her arms around his neck and let herself go in those strong arms. Loving him hadn't been a choice, and stopping her feelings wasn't an option. But marrying him, that was her choice, for better or for worse, for the rest of her life. Ah! And yes, they go on and tell us more about her life with Brody. But I want you to read the book. It gets a strong 5. Yeah, 5. See you soon. I may do one song tonight without the cheaters.